News is emerging of a rescue at sea in the midst of a tropical storm that was performed off the coast of Cuba earlier this morning. We'll give you all the details. And Carnival Cruise Line appears to be making progress, finally, on alleviating their crew shortage, which has been a large concern of mine over the past few weeks. And cruisers in Nassau, well, they got a very interesting sight the other day, and we'll show you the video. Let's roll the intro. Hey, welcome to the Midships channel. I'm your Captain Corey. Thank you so much for stopping by the channel today, and a happy Friday to each and every one of you out there in the Midships family. It's the weekend. We finally made it through another week, and we're halfway through the year already. It's June of 2022. Can you believe it? And we finally have a good, positive Midships episode with good news across the board. Plus, a very interesting video coming out of Nassau Harbor. But before we get into any of this, it's time for a question of the day. And today's question, well, it's food related. Yeah, we're taking it back to this channel's roots. We love food around here. So the question of the day, and make sure you answer in the comments below, is a hot dog a sandwich? Piece of meat between two buns. Sounds kind of like a sandwich, but is it? I don't know. It doesn't, maybe? Maybe not? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. So let's get into today's cruise news. And a major tropical storm is bearing down on the state of Florida. And yeah, it's already started raining up here in Orlando. Now, the Carnival Mardi Gras, they made a scary discovery this morning off the coast of Cuba. So I'll set the stage for you here. It's just before 8 a.m. this morning. There's a tropical storm brewing, and the Mardi Gras is out in open water. Rough water. The Mardi Gras was on her way back to Port Canaveral. She's due back tomorrow morning, which, don't get me started on how rainy that's gonna be for everybody getting on and off the ship. Well, shockingly this morning, the Mardi Gras came across a packed full small vessel just being tossed around in this storm by the rough seas. And inside this small vessel, 16 stranded Cuban refugees. And the Mardi Gras helped rescue all of them from the small craft. Now, no additional details really have been released beyond what I'm about to tell you, but all 16 were safely brought on board the Mardi Gras. Now, longtime cruisers will know that cruise ships often do have to assist these small type of crafts that find themselves in distress when they reach the open waters, especially when a tropical storm happens. And typically what they'll do is the individuals from the small boat are brought on board the cruise ship. They're fed, given water, a place to lay their head, and the cruise line also gives them their needed medical attention. Subsequently, the cruise line will go on to notify the proper authorities, which typically is the Coast Guard, to arrange a transfer of the individuals to a more appropriate situation that meets their needs a little bit better. So some really great work coming from the crew of the Carnival Mardi Gras in a dangerous weather situation like this. It's almost certain that a small craft like the one that we saw pictured wouldn't have made it in great condition to their destination through this kind of weather and conditions. So it's great that the Mardi Gras was able to step in and help save these 16 people. Now, real quick, before we dive a little bit deeper into talking about this hurricane season that's literally started off with a bang here, I want to remind you that I have an Amazon store that's specifically set up to make your next cruise the easiest one you've ever been on. In there, you can find absolutely everything I take with me on every single cruise, like that passport holder. Plus, some really nice shirt designs, all designed by myself, and everything ships on Amazon Prime in a couple days. It's the best way to support this channel and my work while gearing up for something you love, a cruise vacation. So check everything out in the link in the description below. And now, since we're talking about bad weather and hurricane season, I think it's a good time to have a quick refresher on what you need to know about cruising during this time of year. And this year in particular is predicted to be an above average activity level for hurricane seasons and tropical storms in the Atlantic. Now, according to NOAA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, say that 5 times fast, according to NOAA, we're expecting to see a 65% or greater chance of an above average amount of hurricanes occurred this year, which means we're going to expect somewhere between 14 and 21 named tropical storms on record, 6 to 10 hurricanes, with 3 to 6 of those hurricanes being considered major weather events. And why do we think this? Well, it's because of a hybrid of factors that are all kind of moving together to create an above average hurricane season. And like I've said before, I'm no meteorologist, but I tend to have a pretty good understanding of at least the basics. And the reason they're anticipating this to be an above average hurricane season is because of a combination of warmer than average sea surface temperatures out in the ocean and the ongoing La Nina, which is a really complex weather phenomenon. It happens every few years, and it can really mess with the typical weather pattern that you would otherwise expect, specifically in the Atlantic and the Pacific hurricane season. And while the effects are probably a little more positive in the Pacific, where you would now expect to see fewer hurricanes, in the Atlantic, because of the low wind shear and the warmer surface temperatures of the water, well, we can expect an above average hurricane season as a result of this La Nina. So what if you have a cruise booked during hurricane season? Well, more than likely, nothing's going to change with your cruise. There's probably not going to be a hurricane, and it's probably going to go off exactly as you expected. However, if there is a hurricane or tropical storm, you should probably have a few things in order on your end. First off, travel insurance is highly recommended during hurricane season. But don't fear, because even if there is one during your actual cruise, the cruise line's just gonna cruise around the storm. They can change your itineraries, swap out ports, or just completely reverse the order that you go to ports in. Or also, you might go from a Western to an Eastern Caribbean cruise, or vice versa, depending on where the weather is. Basically, as long as you're able to get on board the ship at your embarkation port, your cruise is pretty much still guaranteed to go. Yes, there'll be itinerary changes, but you agreed to that when you booked the cruise. You knew that, right? And unlike some people who throw a hissy fit every time something goes wrong and demand money back, onboard credit, how embarrassing. Just understand that the cruise lines can't predict the weather a year and a half in advance when you booked your cruise, okay? So, as per your cruise contract, you're entitled to nothing if you miss ports or have your itinerary changed.
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal. So you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Don't go running down to guest services to throw a BF. If you know what that stands for, good for you. And really, there's no better way to reveal yourself as an inexperienced cruiser than to behave in that type of way at guest services. Now, I guess I should probably give you a little bit of reassurance as well, since I just threw the book at you here on hurricane season. During a hurricane, even if the path of the storm were to change and come directly at your cruise ship, don't be too worried, because your cruise ship is actually able to sail twice as fast as any hurricane is able to travel. So you're not really going to ever run into a situation where you're just completely trapped and the hurricane bears down on you and just takes you out unexpectedly. Now, if you're really worried about cruising during hurricane season, one other bit of advice is to avoid the peak of the season, which usually occurs between August and October. Now, I, for one, I'm not really shy at all of making a cruise reservation during hurricane season, or even peak season for that matter. I have full confidence in all of the major cruise lines to responsibly respond to changing conditions that come from the weather and hurricanes. Just remember, these companies deal with this every single year. So let me know in the comments below, would you consider cruising during hurricane season? And furthermore, would you consider taking a group cruise with me during hurricane season? Because that's exactly when my group cruise is scheduled. October 24th of this year, we're cruising out of Charleston, South Carolina, and we're gonna be boarding the beautiful Carnival Sunshine for a 5-night Caribbean cruise, hopefully down to Carnival's amazing private island, Half Moon Cay, and we're heading over to Nassau, Bahamas. If you'd like more information about how you can join me and everyone else from the Midships family, there's a link to a Facebook group set up for the group cruise in the description below. Now, since we just mentioned Nassau, Bahamas, why don't we skip to the good part where we talk about this crazy video that's just coming out from something that occurred yesterday. right in the port of Nassau. So I'll go ahead and just roll the footage now, and as you can see, this is yet another waterspout. And if you pay close attention towards the end of the video, you're gonna see 2 cruise ships in the background to give you an idea of just how close this was to coming in contact with one of the largest cruise ships ever built, and a Carnival cruise ship. So yeah, another water tornado occurred, and this one is not as large or nearly as wild or scary as the one we just saw the other day at Disney's private island, but it did indeed form a funnel and spun its way through Nassau Harbor, right near the big bridge. I think it's called like the Sydney Pointer Bridge or something. Let me know if you know the name. I forget it off the top of my head. But the good news is that no damage was reported as a result of this waterspout, and while it did have the potential to turn into a tornado when it moved onto land, it appears that as soon as it did get to land, it just went and disappeared pretty quickly. Now, at the time, 2 cruise ships were in port, Royal Caribbean's Oasis of the Seas, as well as a Carnival cruise ship named the Conquest. So in the last 3 or 4 months, I've now reported on 3 tornadoes / waterspouts that have happened within a few hundred yards of a cruise ship, which is kind of crazy. It's almost like it's time to put together a Mythbusters episode on what would actually happen if a tornado and a cruise ship came in full contact. Mythbusters, where you at? So if you made it this far into today's episode, why don't you consider subscribing to this channel with the bell notification turned on? And I don't know why I gave a thumbs up, that was weird. With the bell notification turned on. Thank you so much for stopping by the channel today, and until tomorrow, we'll see ya on the Midships. It's time for me to hunker down, get ready for this bad weather, and maybe grill some burgers one last time before it starts pouring. All this tropical storm stuff, I'm over it. We'll see you tomorrow.
La 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 la.